For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the PopCulturists PlayStation Podcast. With 40 years of playing PlayStation and 10 plus years the games meeting combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturists, where you can watch us just record the show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation Pod. If you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturists, as well as our merchandise store, popculturists.com/shops. Wait, popculturists.com/shop, where you buy shirts, other assorted shit with our logos on it. So we just had a nice little like flash to the past, but in reverse. So as we were just in the pre-show chat here on the Twitch, Max's kid came in and did the old interruptions on the recording, which is lovely because my son used to do that when I was lucky enough to live in the same house as him. But yeah, I don't really get those run-ins anymore, which is a bit sad. But yeah, it was all good. She wanted dad to come snooze. She should be asleep by now, but she's not. She's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, we had a bit of a late one. We were up in Melbourne today. We didn't get home till 6, which means dinner wasn't till 6:30, which means she didn't get into bed till like after 7.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that she's been super tired all day, she's
just pushing through.
Yeah.
Kids do that for some reason. They're like, you're clearly tired, and then they just keep going.
Yeah.
How are you, man? Speaking of tired and keep going, it's what we do as adults. How are you?
I'm tired and I'm still
going.
It hurts to talk because I burnt my fucking tongue last night.
Oh, shit.
So that sucks.
On what? Is it something embarrassing like pizza or what?
Spaghetti. The other Italian food.
Brilliant. What molten spaghetti were you eating?
I got like a gnarly bit of pasta sauce just on my tongue. That was just fucking hot.
Yeah, not like that acidic tomato hot. That's
yeah,
brutal. The chat mute advises that you should salt your tongue to heal it. Ew, that seems almost worse. Just put on salt in your vom. Wouldn't be ideal.
Salt me in your chips, here I come.
Ooh. Yeah, man. That's not so bad. Apart from like mouth pain, how's things?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
It's been pretty chill week. Works the same as it ever has been. As I alluded to before, went to Melbourne today. Took the kid to the Chaos Labs.
Ooh, what's them Chaos Labs?
It's like a 1-hour interactive science exhibit. So they go in, they put on like a little science show for the kids. So they make elephant toothpaste, they make smoke with liquid nitrogen and boiling water.
Oh, nice.
Well, all those simple fun things. I might have to make a baking soda volcano for Hadley, blow her fucking mind.
Oh yeah.
So all day she's been fucking amped for that. She came bursting into the room this morning. She's like, "Fucking slime!" all she wanted to do was slime. So she made her slime and did all that stuff. They had one of those like augmented reality sand pits.
Oh yeah.
So the further down you dig, it goes from like volcano top to mountain to grasslands to beach to ocean as you dig down, which is cool.
How's that work? Like goggles?
No, it's just a projector shooting down on the sand, and then the image will change depending on how high the sand is in the table.
That's kind of really cool.
It was cool. They had some fun with that. She got her face painted with fluorescent paint, and then she got home and had to have a shower, and then she got sad because it all washed off.
Yeah, of course.
Went out for ice cream afterwards. It was a good day. Good day.
Very nice. I'm gonna have to hit this place up. This sounds amazing.
I don't think it's running for that much longer. We were only told about it like 2 weeks ago. We got invited to go with some friends. But yeah, it's a 1 hour interactive thing. It's like $30 for the kid, $10 to accompany the child.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah,
I got
cool.
my boy this coming weekend, so maybe.
It's in the Docklands.
Ooh, I like the Docklands.
Literally right around the corner from Costco. So
Hey, well, I do like some Costco.
could double dip that Costco.
It's true. Ooh, that could work. I like it. I'll have to consider it because dang science. It's true.
What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. No, much, man. I'm not sure. No, I've had a pretty quiet week. Like, not a whole lot went down. It's kind of existed. Did my things, did my work, and then went from this room to another room, and that was about it. Shit, what did we up to this week? The mullet show. I did lose the GM belt this week, but we'll touch about that and what we've been playing. But yeah, other than that, not a whole bunch. I've caught up with my son a couple times this week, which is lovely. So it's not my weekend, but he rang me on his way home from school on Friday, asking me to come around for dinner. So that was lovely. And then I got a call this morning being like, "Hey, Daddy, can you come around and play games with me?" And I said, "Of course I can, bud." So I went around to his place for about 4 hours, and it was pretty much he just wanted a particular costume in Miles Morales. So he's like, "Can you run all the training sims for me so I can get this costume?" No, but it was lovely. He was super happy to see me, and we spent a big hunk of the day together, just playing games and watching some YouTube. And I introduced him to the 90s X-Men animated series. That was pretty cool because we did this. There's one YouTube video, the thing where it was like, guess the movies by using emojis. One of them was X-Men. He's like, "What's X-Men?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what's X-Men?" All right, let's watch some animated series. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, went out for dinner yesterday for the first time in a while, which was lovely. My partner Phoebe. What was it, sorry?
Thanks for the invite.
It was a date night, my friend. So my lovely partner Phoebe, like her and I we haven't gone out for dinner in yonks. And it was one of those things. She's like, "What are you doing for dinner?" I'm like, "Oh, my fridge is empty." And it was a circumstance of, well, instead of buying shit, let's go get dinner. So we went, and we didn't little bit realize, because I forgot at the time, that there was an AFL game here in Geelong. So every motherfucker was booked out. So we just drove down to Torquay and found this lovely brewery. We should totally go and get munted there. It was very nice. Could make a good mess there. And I'm excited to return.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, talk about the things that we were playing, though, because that does tie into that. The lovely Phoebe. She is the new WWE 2K23 GM champion of the house. As this week we returned after a month off. I was champion at the end of last season. We did the draft. I got to retain the belt in the draft because obviously you don't give it over in the draft. Did our first couple of weeks and then our first pay-per-view where she won. I came second, so I did have to relinquish the title because the title does swap on whoever's the champion, whoever's number one at the end of every pay-per-view. So disappointed, but there's many more weeks to come. I'm still overall season winner for season 1. So look, that's something that can't be taken away from me. The one thing that can be taken away is that belt from Phoebe, because it will return to me, and I cannot wait when it comes back home, because it will. Craig's in third place, by the way. He's not doing well. But other than that, there's only one game. Just 2 games. Speaking of wrestling, we'll keep the tag going. So, I did play a demo for a game called WrestleQuest.
You did play it?
I did play it, yeah. So, I got a message earlier in the week from Max, and he was like... thank you, Molo, for the follow. So earlier on in the week, Max goes, "Hey, there's a demo for that game WrestleQuest." I was like, "Oh, shit, yeah, check. Where is it on?" So it's part of some Microsofty thingy. It's on Steam. Oh, yeah, no worries. I have a fancy pants PC now. I do this, like you can see it, but it's down there. And it's essentially you're playing this kind of pixely adventure RPG, like side-scrollery sort of thing, but with wrestling. and you're all wrestling action figures. And yeah, it's an interesting principle. There's a bunch of like legitimate wrestlers in there, or at least their likeness and their names. The likes of Diamond Dallas Page, the Randy Macho Man Savage. I saw Jake the Snake Roberts in there as well. There's a bunch, and like it's really kind of cool. And having it be that like action figure aesthetic is kind of fun. And it's sort of all can be played with a series. Like there's no like mouse really integration really. You just play with directional buttons. So it's really kind of a good one-hander. There is no gobbledygooker. Mute in the chat did ask that I have seen. But yeah, look, it's the beginnings of something. Obviously the game comes out later next month on everything. PCs, your Xboxes, your PlayStations, etc. So I dipped my toe in and I'm like, I'm going to check this out when it comes to the console. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Once again, it's only like half an hour, so it's not really a lot. It is essentially the tutorial that goes, this is how the game is played. So it's kind of simple in principle. It is essentially a turn-based fighter, which is kind of cool because you have to think about like status effects and attacks. The status effects are done in the forms of taunts, so like sort of in the chat. We also have like turn-based battles using promos, so you got to sort of like build up your hype, which then in turn helps you fight better in the match, which is beautifully silly. But the one game that I've been spending most of my week with, and I was literally playing it today before I came to the recording, and I know you've been playing it, Max.
It's literally open right now on my third one.
Just ready to go when we're finished?
Well, I'm playing it right now. While you're rambling, I'm having a sweet run.
I'm sitting here talking about wrestling, and you're like, you know what's really cool? Rogue Legacy 2. So we've touched upon it the last couple of weeks. It was part of the PlayStation Plus Deluxe, now that it's finally come across to PlayStation, and it's literally like all I've played this week, because it's fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, Max, how because you touched upon it a little bit last week. I've been playing it for a little bit longer than you, but you have already steamrolled me.
I actually think I might have been playing this longer than you.
Well, at least in talking about it on the show, I mean, because I did 3 weeks. It's been 2 for you.
Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, pointed out last week, it is available for free for those of us who have PlayStation. I think it's extra tier.
Whatever the second one is.
Yeah, whatever the middle tier is.
Yeah, extra, because the top one's deluxe. Yeah, you are correct.
It is the follow-on one from Rogue Legacy, so it plays the exact same way. So you have that. It's that roguelike style gameplay. Every time you die, you get a new hero, and they all have genetic traits from their previous legacy of dead heroes and family members, which is really cool. I am now up to I've just beaten the third boss of 6, I believe.
Yeah, 6, yeah.
So essentially, at the very starting point, there is a big door that is blocked, and it's like, hey, you need to kill the 6 bosses to unlock this door and go in and deal with the big bad. So you go through each of the levels, you get as far as you can, you collect as much gold and loot as you can, so when you die, you can buy your upgrades, whether that be new player classes, extra health, extra damage, for either strength for your strength-based characters like your barbarians and your knights and all that stuff. You can increase your dexterity, so the fences and the ninjas do more damage because they're dex-based, and then you can increase your mind power, your brain power, so your intelligence goes higher, and that's for your mages and stuff like that. I unlocked one of the later classes last night called Bard. Hot garbage. Don't like it at all. So basically how the mage works is you shoot a musical note into the room, and then you have to do the L1 kick volley off it to make the note play and deal damage.
That's a lot of effort.
So shooting the note out does nothing. You've got to go juggle on the note. It's great for small rooms that you can put it up against like a wall or a roof, so you can just constantly mash L1 and just fucking bounce off it really quickly. But in big rooms, it's really hard because you got to aim it first, and then you have to not only dodge the enemies that are all trying to attack you, you've got to just kick dodge it constantly to keep the music playing, which is a shame. So yeah, as I said, I'm 3 bosses deep now. I've just unlocked the 4th permanent ability. So each level has its own gimmick, where you'll unlock a permanent ability that will stick with you throughout your your refreshes, your resets. The first one being the kick volley that I mentioned allows
So
you
essentially,
to,
so you can pounce off like enemies and sort of spike terrain. So as you come down, you pop L1 on a PlayStation version, you boom, and lets you to bounce off it. So it's a great way to sort of, skip over little dangerous terrains.
Yeah. I've got the double jump, which is super useful. So obviously, as self-explanatory as double jump is, it allows you to jump twice in midair. And I've just unlocked the extended dash, which is used in the next area. The game's so much fun.
Oh, dude. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's weird, though, because the first one didn't really win me over. But for whatever reason, this one's great.
I'm in the exact same boat. So I played the original back in the day on like the Vita and on the PS4, and I enjoyed it. But I think the gimmick of it all, like with the hereditary traits, is kind of what won me over in the previous one. But I didn't have that skill set at the time, right? So since then, I have played a lot more rogue-like games, whether it be the likes of Hades or Death's Door or anything like that, which I hadn't up until this point.
Yeah.
So I think that certainly has played a role, Max, in terms of like how I now get this genre. So like here I'm having a stack of fun. So I have defeated the first 2 bosses. I'm up to the 3rd. I've taken them on, and I've only taken on the once so far, and I just happen to go in with the shittiest class.
Range characters seem to be the way to go for that.
Yeah,
boss.
so I went in with not a ranged, I think I went with the Lancer. I was like, that was dumb. Like a Dragon Lancer.
Oh, so fun fact. You won't get it. You'll get it because you've played it. But you know the run up in the second area where you got to just go through all those houses and you're just literally just going from left to right. Yep. That's the whole map. There's no ups and downs. I skipped that whole section by using the Lancer and just using the powered fly thing and just flew across the top of the map.
Oh, smart.
And I just literally flew straight to the boss, so I didn't take any damage.
So like
went over everything.
So with each character, you have your attack, and you have like an extra attack and like a spell, essentially, right? Yeah. And for some of the characters, you can get like a little ship or a little boat, and you can just like propel yourself across the top of the map. So there's some that kind of make lovely little like fern vine terrains that allow you to sort of stay up off the ground if you need to. Which is really great if you're doing a ranged player character. So yeah, like obviously Max. So what I did in order to sort of dodge all that is I kind of go ahead and I find, because I've unlocked the pizza delivery guy, which lets you essentially remember transport locations, like which is the fast travel.
Yeah, it allows you to fast travel to the start of every location.
Yeah, so essentially, like when it was to head to the second location, I just saved it there. Because then I could just go up and then back in and whatever. It was super easy to get to the boss. Yeah, so like I said, I've taken out the first 2 bosses. First one took me a little while to get, as I was still sort of getting my hooks into the game. Second one I did in like 2 goes. Like I just nailed it. I don't know what it was, but so essentially it's like a pirate skeleton, and he brings a friend out and you wreck him. I just happen to have a best run, and I took them all out in second go.
I also beat that one on my second go, and I would have beat it on my first go, but the hereditary trait that I had was enemy HB bars don't show.
Oof.
So I had no idea what I was doing.
So I had this one big problem though, because as you mentioned, like there are these ongoing skills that you get, whether it be the dash or the spike. One of them is a double jump, right? It's called the ether wings. So I worked out how to get there. It's in the second area. You've got to hop your way over this little thing. You got to find it, right? Downside, the hereditary trait I had made my spike jumps or my pounces more effective and double the height. So I couldn't get the wings because you had to like fancy pants your way.
Because you hit the top and
you
restart.
Because every time, because there was kind of like there's a ledge that hits like a kind of an upper and a lower area that if you hit you get damage and you can't do it. But the only way to get past is by using just a regular pounce off this little crystal thing to shoot across the gap. Because I had that trait that gave me the double bounce, every time I just couldn't get it. And I'm like, why the fuck can't I get this? Until I realized that was my hereditary trait. I was like, well, that sucks, asshole. So I had to do a whole new run just so I could go back there and get the double jump. But yeah, look, the game is fantastic. Look, it looks great. It plays great because it is essentially an extension of the first game. But yeah, as you mentioned before, I don't know why I'm hitting this one differently, but I only, the only thing I can confidently say is that it's simply time. Like, it's just, now that I'm more exposed to this genre of games, that I have the ability to play it where I couldn't before. Because even in the second boss, which was essentially just like, there was a lot of those pounces, a lot of spiking and dashing and sort of making sure you can dodge all their attacks, I did it with such ease. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And I just felt really, really good to like just nail it, and have this good knack for it. Yeah, it was dope. Game's awesome. I kind of want to go play it right now. Are you playing it right now, Max?
No, I'm not.
Disappointed. Because I would be if I had my console in here, because it's such a good game. Anything else you've been playing this week? Oh, yes, we mentioned so Exo Primal came out this week. Now we totally forgot to hit up Capcom, so we haven't played, so we don't have it. But it's on the Game Pass, which is now that I got Fancy Pants new PC, because it's kind of like, remember that time I had a new TV and I talk about my new TV every week? Guess what? Now it's my computer. So I have it downloaded, ready to go. It's the latest from Capcom. It's like mech PvE.
It's not Dino Crisis.
It's Anthem versus Dinos. I haven't checked it out yet. You have though, Max.
Oh, look, I'll use the term checked it out very
You touched
loosely.
it. I haven't touched it. You've at least touched it.
I've played the tutorial. I shot a dinosaur and that was it.
That's not so bad.
It looks great, but I can't really touch upon it much more than that. Like, I think I've been in game for maybe a grand total of 10 minutes.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
And most of that was trying to link my fucking Capcom ID so I could play the stupid game.
Brutal. Well, because like, it's one of those things where, as it is a co-op sort of PvE, it's very much a Max game on paper.
Yeah. So I've got some friends that downloaded it. Like, you downloaded it, obviously. A friend of the show, Zill, downloaded it. Zach has downloaded it. So we've got a 4-man squad ready to go. I convinced a few other people to download it last night. We all got together on Discord and we're like, oh, what should we play together? I'm like, oh, Exo Primal came out. Let's give that a go. Let's give that a burl. And they're like, oh, how much is it going to cost me? I'm like, well, it's on Games Pass, so if you have Games Pass, it's free. And they're like, what if we don't have Games Pass? I'm like, well, it's $1 at the moment to sign up for a month.
Is it still though?
Yeah, so since they upped the price of Games Pass, they reintroduced the dollar a month trial thing.
Well, yeah, that must be the ultimate, because I got the PC Game Pass because I don't have an Xbox, so I don't need the Xbox version. Yeah, it was standard price.
Yeah, so a few people downloaded it, and then we ended up playing Civilization 6. A vastly different game to
very different game to Exo Primal.
Someone in the chat, someone in our Discord chat last night was like, "Oh, I've never heard of that game. I've never played it. Can you describe it to me?" And I'm like, imagine if Age of Empires was turn-based and just took fucking way longer.
Like, way longer than it should.
So did
that sell on though?
We ended up playing a 4-hour game of Civ last night.
All right, cool. Then it totally worked. There was an app description that delivered it. But yeah, other than that, like, I haven't played anything else. Like, I just literally haven't touched my console.
Other than that, I also haven't played anything else. I've dabbled. I've played a few games of Rocket League here and there, but I haven't touched anything new.
So obviously, I've returned to Drug Dealer Simulator on the computer because it's fun. That's about it. Like, I did download Death Stranding to see what it looked like on the PC, and then I remembered that my current monitor's not all that fucking rad. So I was like, oh well, I'll have to wait till the new Fancy Pants monitor comes, and then I'll try again and see what it looks like on the PC. I am contemplating though, like, because we were discussing, about the idea of like the doing sort of some of that PC PlayStation stuff. Now, it's something we have got some codes in the past. I'm debating whether I might hit up PlayStation Australia and be like, hey, I finally have a cool PC. I would love to check out on the console, see if they've just forgotten that they gave it to us in the past. I'll get another one. Might be worthwhile. Anyway. All right, but that's enough on what we've been playing. Let's get in this section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. And shout out to Molo, by the way, using one of our balls emoji, which I haven't used in forever. Because I absolutely forgot that we had them.
Let's kick things off as we always do with some PlayStation related news. And PlayStation announced a new way to play is coming
They
soon.
did.
So Sony earlier this week announced that its PlayStation 5 Access controller will release on the 6th of December 2023 at the price of $89.99 US.
So expect
Pre-orders-
$120 Australian.
Pre-orders will be taken from Friday the 21st of July 2023 on the official PlayStation Direct website and participating retailers. I'll point out that Australia was not listed in any of the areas that was available for pre-order. So I wonder if we will be able to pre-order it.
We'll do a quick check of ABK.
In a PlayStation blog post, Sony explains how it's been planning for such a controller over the past 5 years and has been working with organizations like Able Gamers, Stack Up, and Special Effect to make it a reality. Quote, "We truly believe that gaming should be accessible to everyone, and the Access controller is our latest step toward living up to that promise." End quote.
So it appears that it is currently not on the EB Game Store, at least.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So this was originally Project Leonardo, I believe it was called. So this is very similar to the Xbox adaptive controller. It's designed to assist individuals that have sort of any sort of physical ailments or physical challenges that will prevent them from playing with a traditional controller. So with my previous work being in literally, games as therapy for those with various, neurodiversities, psychosocial disabilities, as well as physical disabilities, this is dope. Because Xbox were the only ones that had, obviously, with the adaptive controller. And essentially, that was a proprietary in that you had the box, you had the main box with the 2 buttons on it, and then you had to buy a bunch of Logitech, I believe, branded extras to plug into it, right? So it wasn't just a one device. You'd have to buy all these little dongles. Where here, PlayStation, no, I say that's not me diminishing the adaptive, because the adaptive controller is amazing. Like, one of the moments where we used it on a client who has never played a game before in their entire life, we're able to come to my previous workplace and literally play games with people for the first time in his entire life. And he cried, his mum cried, we cried. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful in terms of the power of just simply providing access. Is brilliant. And I'm so glad that Sony finally caught up. And I do quite like their controller, is that you can have 2 of them and they're relatively cheaper as well, comparatively, which is a huge win.
They also come with a lot more stuff in the box.
It does. It's got essentially a big circle with like a stick and a bunch of big old buttons. So, it has potential to be used like a giant fight stick, which is also interesting. But I'm curious, like, if they are available here, I might grab one just to fuck with it, and then I'll donate it to my old workplace. If for any reason that I don't get a kick out of it, which I probably won't, but I like the idea of it enough that I would like to invest in it. Sort of demonstrate that this is something that should be not just supported, but also encouraged. So PlayStation alone, especially in their first party releases over the last couple of years, have really focused on accessibility and having a way for those that have various, challenges or hindrances to be able to play whatever way that they need to. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 being one of the big spearheads in that. And this is another addition to make that possible. So I'm a big advocate for it, like unquestionably. But yourself, Max, would you...
I've always wanted to dabble in them, but again, they're not for me.
No, that's very true.
Unless... I mean, for certain games, it would be cool to try and customize a controller to suit your own needs and how you want to play it. I do like the fact that they
which you kind of do, but like in more a traditional way, because obviously whether it be like the Xbox Pro controller or the Edge controller or your Scuff controllers, which yeah. So I got a lovely gifted mine from Ethan at Tag Mods. It is a heavy bastard. What a controller. Where you like the Scuff controllers and stuff as well. So you do like controls with a little bit more oomph to them, but they still require that standard controller configuration.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I enjoy the fact that they exist. It is nice that Sony now has an offering whereas Microsoft has had one for quite some time now. So it's nice that they've finally come to join the party, and it seems pretty affordable.
Yeah, and like you said, even if it's under $150, that's brilliant.
Which is another big win, yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool because like it's once again, normally when it comes to specialty made shit like this, it's like you expect high end prices. But if they're making this the entry level price, and I'm sure they're probably eating a bit of crap on it, but the marketing alone behind it, the good PR behind it, and just it's fascinating because we consider and talk about obviously how much we love games and how important they are to us, but this will allow a whole group of new people that can share in that love for games and can share in the community and the passion and enjoyment. And give it no time, someone will beat Elden Ring on that fucking thing.
I was about to say I can't wait to see all the Dark Souls speedruns on it.
Yeah, very true. Next up, R&D funding, Max, as you've named this one. So a new report from Nikkei, N-I-K-K-E-I, claims that Sony will be increasing its monetary investments into research and development sectors by around 10% this fiscal year to aid its push into the live service space. This investment will total around 300 billion yen, or about $2.13 billion US dollars, and represents roughly 40% of the entire company's R&D costs for the financial year. In comparison, Sony's gaming sector spent 271.1 billion yen on R&D in its previous financial year, and then 144.5 billion yen, the year before that. As such, this financial year's R&D expenditure represents a substantial increase over past financial blocks. Quote, having long relied on sales of its PlayStation game console, the company will now focus on live service games that let customers purchase add-ons for titles streamed online, end quote, the outlet claims. Sony plans to have 12 live service games on the market by the end of fiscal year 2026, and it brought the Destiny maker Bungie on board to help make sure they're all of the good quality. According to a Bloomberg report from Jason Schreier, this is the reason why Naughty Dog has put its multiplayer project on the back burner for now. Quote, Bungie raised questions about The Last of Us multiplayer's project ability to keep players engaged for a long period of time, which led to a reassessment, the journalist had claimed back in May. Obviously, Max, you're more of a live service understander player than myself.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
I think, I know personally myself, I'm starting to get that live service fatigue. But at the same time, I also hate annualized releases. And I'm like, just make it a fucking live service because that's what it realistically is. It's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the article from Jason Schreier is right. If the game doesn't have the capability to hold you and you're dumping all of this money into keeping it a live service, but you're not getting the returns that you need to see, it's not good. Yeah. It's interesting that Bungie came in and went, it's probably not going to keep him playing, guys, because at the moment Bungie's having the same problem.
Yeah. But that's nothing to do with their current circumstances with PlayStation. It's just they're in that, it looks as if they're in that sort of end game. Literally, like they're about to release their big last patch. They're working on Marathon as well. It's kind of just a bad timing with the last. So was it Lightyear? Lightfall. Lightfall
was hot garbage. It looked what it seems to be was a lot of the stuff that was Lightfall was going to be what will become the final shape, which is their last big expansion.
Yeah.
And they had this weird fucking stopgap between. They're like, oh, we have to fill some shit in, and they kind of just left things unanswered and weird space. I would love to know what the 12 live service games are. Obviously, I wonder if they're counting Marathon as a live service title for Bungie's next project. There's obviously The Last of Us. There's that rumored Horizon MMO, which would be classified as a live service game if you're paying a monthly subscription for it, or however they choose to monetize that. It'll be interesting, like what they could do Forza, not Forza, sorry,
Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo, thank you. They could seasonalize Gran Turismo, turn that into a live service game. where you get a racing pass every season, and you can unlock cars through the racing pass and do all that stuff. But it'll be interesting to see if all of these are new IPs or they form live service games around existing IPs. But $200 billion is nothing to scoff at. It'll be interesting to see where it all goes.
So this is the thing that we got to consider here is, look, live services are kind of where the industry's at large. Now, I personally don't enjoy them because I don't play them. I don't have the time nor the interest in playing the same game over and over again, except for Rogue Legacy apparently. But that'll burn out in like a week, I guarantee it. So the idea of these ongoing services aren't really for me. So I'm lucky that I can take my sort of my subjective side away from it and try to bring in that objectiveness. And from an industry perspective, it is one thing the PlayStation is lacking. Any sort of good multiplayer experience, it is 100% lacking.
But the other thing is, most consumers will only play 1 to 2 live service games.
Correct.
Because they are a very big time dump. And if you're planning on releasing fucking 12 over the next 3 years, so, let's average it out. Let's say you're releasing 4 a year for the next 3 years. They're going to all be competing against each other for your player base's time and money.
That is very true. However, the understanding of live service or the wording of it has changed a lot. A lot of what it's considered live service now is just standard multiplayer, right? But it's been given that name. Anything with ongoing revenue, whether it be season passes, battle passes, or microtransactions, have tended to be lumped in that live service category. So a lot of these things may not be what you think they are, right? Like, it's very likely that Concord might be. It's very likely that Fair Games might be, if they have any sort of multiplayer or co-op integration, which is very possible. So, the point I'm going to make here, now I know it's a controversial opinion because live services are pretty pooed on by everyone. Why, every live service that's come out that isn't like your Destinies or whatever, why have they failed? Because they weren't supported, there was not enough money thrown into them. Because everyone wanted a live service without the willingness to invest. So it is one of those advantages we're going to have. Well, okay, at least we know that PlayStation, that Sony are willing to invest in these live service initiatives, which means if they fall, they're going to be they will at least will give it everything they possibly could have. Right? Yeah. Which I think is certainly a better result. Like, there might just be some that don't land. Right? And even then, the fact that we have Bungie coming in and going, hey, this isn't good enough, that's good. Because what that means is, like, it's essentially, there are people that swear by Bungie. You're one of them, Max. You all the time, you say, this is the game that I'm married to. Even right now, where your marriage is a little bit rocky, you're still married to it. Right? So, like, the point I'm making is, like, if they are to go, hey, this game isn't up to snuff, and PlayStation have taken that on board, and because they could just go on, nah, fuck it, release it. And that's what most studios do, because all they see live services as are cash cows, not understanding that, like, it needs more than just that. And in a world where every live service game that gets delivered, it's always behind, because they spend the first 6 months where they should be releasing new content going, oh, we're going to work on the game so it meets what we told you it would be at launch.
Yeah.
Right? So what they're doing is they're going, well, we're going to invest the money now. We're going to make sure that it is good to go at launch, so we're not chasing our tails. Because you think about every fucking live service game, even the ones that had really good potential, they spend the first couple months going, hey, I'm sorry, the game wasn't what it should have been. We're now working on updates. So they're going to consciously be behind. We talked about it recently with AEW Fight Forever, right? In that game, like, its campaign, its story, it's already 2 years behind. What compared to current wrestling storylines, right? Or current wrestling fucking wrestlers. So they're forever already going to be 2 years behind, because the game was already delayed, it was already pushed back, and they're already chasing their tails. So that is the big difference. So all I can hope is that this investment pays off in something well. And like R&D could also be, well, how do we make sure our servers are better? How do we make sure our teams are supported correctly?
Yeah.
How do we know that we're following the right kind of microtransactions? Like, there's a potential for a lot of considerations that are greater than we're just going to make live service games. Because in that same process, you know, can we put it into PlayStation Plus? Can we support, you know, like studios in terms of like having that streaming platform, right? Maybe part of that R&D is let's find a way to get PS Now in Australia. It could be. It's probably not going to be, but it could be, right? So like R&D is just research and development. There are so many things that happen in R&D that never see the light of day. But I would much rather them willing to put the money into the research part so they can make the development better.
Yeah.
That's me personally.
This is the Last of Us Part 2.
No, it isn't.
It's probably not. Earlier this week in a Spanish interview, composer Gustavo Santaolalla may have hinted at a new version. You just
kind of gave up halfway through that.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you were right.
He may have hinted at a new version of The Last of Us Part 2. If you recall, during the opening stages of the sequel, you'll see the musician playing a banjo as you walk through the Jackson settlement, but you couldn't interact with him. Gustavo has gone on to say that, quote, in the new editions, you can make me play certain themes, and, well, I can't say anything else.
He probably shouldn't have said that, Gustavo.
Obviously, this is all conjecture based on a fairly vague Spanish interview, but it does make sense that a hypothetical re-release would come with some bonus features and Easter eggs. And making Gustavo's cameo more interactive would certainly fit the bill, and it makes sense because it's only available on PS4. The show's nominated for, spoiler alert, 24 Emmys.
Yes! So and it comes out on Blu-ray in 2 days, by the way. Go watch it on Blu-ray. Get rid of that fucking stream compression. Oh!
Maybe it needs a PS5 re-release.
It 100% needs a PS5 re-release, right? When you've got the, like, you know, is it needed? Not really. The game is incredible, but even just porting it to PS5, right? So you can just play both of them natively. Like you can bump up the bump up the res, bump up the frames, because like, you know, playing 60 in Last of Us Part 1, mad, and like, you know, it can align it, you know, so you can release a bundle. Because as we're heading into what, like, I think it's next year we're going to get Last of Us Season 2. Presuming like the writers' strike and the now the SAG-AFTRA strike.
It's not coming. It's not coming next year.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like if that's happening, like at least there's everyone can play it on the one console, which is dope. Yeah. And you know, you thought it looked fucking good on PS4 because it did. Imagine it on your PS5s. Ha! Do I want it? Fuck yes, I want it. Max, will you play it again so you can enjoy it rather than cramming it into a weekend?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's been long enough. I could go back to it.
Yeah, because I still wouldn't mind getting the platinum for it or trying. Because I think the only thing you just have to run it a second time, just get all the collectibles and stuff. But you know, I said we talked about it last week. I did like the game. The game's great. Should we put it on PS5? Fuck yeah, we should put it on PS5. Play the shit out of it. And if you can go, hey Gustavo, play me that fucking Pearl Jam song. Hey Gustavo, can you play me the fucking theme from the TV show? Hey Gustavo, play me Wonderwall. Like, that's what I kind of want. Give me Smoke on the Water.
Gustavo's jukebox.
Yeah. All right, this is the big one, Max. Deal or no deal? The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission of the USA, isn't giving up without a fight. Because we did learn this week that they lost. The FTC lost their appeal to restrict and stop the Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard King. So with that decision, they've attempted to appeal it. So after losing the courtroom, as we mentioned, battle for preliminary injunction against Microsoft's intended purchase of Activision Blizzard, the government body has officially filed an appeal. The court decision in favor of the Redmond Corporation's acquisition essentially means it can proceed, although the UK's competition watchdog, the CMA, is still an obstacle. However, the FTC's appeal means it now has opportunity to convince the appeals court the decision was wrong. The restraining order against action from Microsoft expires on the 14th of July. which is 2 days ago at time of recording, meaning the company could continue as planned very shortly. So as of right now, the deal could happen tomorrow, today, yesterday. Unless an appeals court grants an extension to delay the things further, the deal's deadline is the 18th of July, which it has not, from my understanding.
Yeah, my understanding, it's yet to be extended, so they could, as of release of this recording, they could be buying them tomorrow.
Could, yes. So in a statement to The Verge, Microsoft's Brad Smith is, of course, firmly against the FTC's appeal. The quote, the district court's ruling makes crystal clear that this acquisition is good for both competition and consumers, he says. We're disappointed that the FTC is continuing to pursue what has become a demonstrably weak case, and we will oppose further efforts to delay the ability to move forward. I have thoughts as always, Max. I'm an opinionated asshole. What's your thoughts?
The FTC was always going to lose. If you watched any of it, they had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, and they were pleading the case of PlayStation. They weren't pleading the case of fucking consumers, which is what they're there to do.
They're also not going to. I know the leader of the FTC, whatever her name is. She actually had to stand before the government earlier this week as well. And they're like, "Is this a really good fucking use of taxpayer money? Of the last 4 mergers that you've tried to stop, you've fucking lost all 4 of them, and the appeals. So maybe stop wasting everyone's fucking money and just let it happen."
Yeah.
My understanding is the CMA, as you mentioned, is still against it, and I think Canada is also not overly chill about it. But I mean, I think it's going to happen, no matter what. I've always thought it was going to happen. I think Microsoft are doing everything in their power to make that happen, whether they're signing those 10-year deals. They're going to play ball for as long as they need to play ball to get this across the line. Will it help them in the long run? Maybe. Am I hoping that I can play WoW on my Games Pass subscription? Yes.
Yeah.
In a way, it is kind of good that a lot of these games will instantly go to Games Pass, and it does give a lot more people who, can afford to pay that, what is it, like $16 a month fee to have Games Pass. They will essentially have such a huge library of games that would normally run them, $90 plus per title. It gives them the opportunity to really, branch out and try a lot of new things that they would never try before. So from a consumer perspective, I can see how this does look really enticing. I mean, we are in a privileged space. It doesn't really affect us too much. But when you talk to the mum and dads who are going out and buying their kids consoles for Christmas or birthdays, if the deciding factor is like, well, I don't really want to buy them this because games are $100 each. It's like, well, if you go this way, spend $16 a month and they'll have thousands of games to play and they can try them at their own leisure. They can
hundreds. So you don't get too extreme on the thousands.
Oh, I mean, they're in hundreds at the moment. Once they add all the Activision Blizzard games, it'll be pretty. It's a pretty big fucking library of games that they've got access to.
Potentially, yeah.
It probably is pretty good for consumers. Probably not going to be great for developers stuck in ABK that are, probably going to see their paychecks take a dip from a lack of sales and a lack of this and a lack of that. But it's one of those things, from a consumer standpoint, it's great. But on the other side, how quickly are these studios going to now die off because they're not going to be making the money that they could potentially be making? There's the argument for the longest time Blizzard have been releasing hot garbage, and a lot of Activision games are hit and miss. Obviously, Call of Duty is their big one that's going to make them money hand over fist. I think Call of Duty makes them enough money that it doesn't matter if every other game that they fucking release fails. But it's just one of those things. I think I said it from the start that Microsoft, this was always going to go through. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, like you said, the FTC was definitely arguing the Sony's case and not what they probably should have been doing. But I think even if they did argue that case, I still don't think they would have won.
Yeah, this is the thing. So it did kind of go the way we expected. There was a moment there where it was like a flip of a coin, it felt like. But yeah, the FTC did not do a good job in terms of... But like, not to say that in because they should have won, but it's just more of the case that they provided was just insufficient for the things that they were claiming to be concerned about. So the things that... So the appeal itself is an appeal of the decision. It's appeal of the way they went about the decision. So this is my understanding, right? So I was listening to some stuff today to try to understand it better. So they can't essentially say, hey, we're going to appeal the decision. It just feels like, hey, the methodology that you used, the things that the way the judge made the decision, that should be appealed, not the decision. And then by doing so, that allows them to then question the outcome, I believe. And apparently one of the things they talked about was like potential divestment, in that, you know, Activision will be standing alone, not part, like it's not part of in the same way that Bungie is owned by PlayStation, Sony, but it's treated separate. Apparently that's the way they'd get around it in a lot of ways for the Call of Duty stuff specifically. And that's how they can get around it in the UK potentially with the CMA. It's interesting. Right? Like, I'm still not happy about it because, yeah, it's cool. Like, it's great for, you know, the consumer currently. But the long-term impact of a decision like this, that is my concern. And it's been my concern this entire time. Because as you mentioned, we're very lucky. We're in a privileged position that we either have access to review code when we want to, or we have, you know, the platforms to play it play games in multiple locations. You know, however, it does dishearten me that, you know, because Microsoft, because of the precedent that they have established, that, pardon me, they're likely gonna make a lot of this shit exclusive. Whether it might not be Call of Duty, at least for the possible next 10 years, but everything else they would. You know, because once again, using that ZeniMax as an example, they bought ZeniMax because they wanted to make it exclusive. It's simple as that. Because they wanted to prevent the deal that PlayStation had. We learned that over this case, right? The one game that the PlayStation was like, we have a 1-game deal. Well, actually, it was really a 3-game deal. But they're all timed exclusive, right? So rather than say, hey, PlayStation can't, you can't have it exclusively for a year, we're going to buy it so nobody else can have it. I still have an issue with how Microsoft do business. I believe that they're doing it by brute force and by like money. So in terms of, rather than, hey, you're not allowed to play the game, I'm just going to buy the whole fucking stadium. So then I'm forcing you to make me play. That's pretty much what they've been doing. I've said this before. I think it's fucking gross. Microsoft at no point in their entire existence with the Xbox, I should say, Xbox within their entire existence has used that model. They've done the brute force bully their way, quote unquote, in terms of, we just have big wallets, let's buy it. I talked about it previously. Halo, they bought Bungie. Bungie was originally making it a Mac game, right? Like Gears, they just bought the studio, after there's a bunch of different things. No in-house grown studios really, apart from ones that have been grown post. So whether it be the Coalition or 343, which were born after those main games, whether it be Gears of War or Halo had their run. That's the problem that I have with it. I as you mentioned before, from a developmental cost standpoint, that's a concern for me. And we've seen Microsoft's inability to manage. Like, they have the deepest pockets. They really should be able to make the best fucking games possible, but they haven't, and they aren't. And buying more studios won't resolve that problem. Like, it's just throwing more money on, like, hey, this fire is really fucking bad. If we throw more gasoline on it, it should just, like, maybe the fire will go away. It's not how it's going to work. Like, they have such a fundamental need to change how they manage and run their developmental studios. By adding fucking more to them is not the way to do it. Like, whether it be Phil Spencer and his team, like, I'm not just going to say it's Phil Spencer because he's just one man, even though he is the figurehead. He would have individuals under him that would assist him in his management of all these studios. Their management is poor. Like, you look at Redfall, you look at fucking any Xbox exclusive within the last 6 years.
It would be interesting to know how much of a hand that they took in Redfall.
Well, yes, Arcane were developing that
very autonomous.
Allegedly, but then why, right? Like, it's one of those things. Then why buy them, right? Because if we think about Bethesda or ZeniMax, right, the last 3 games they've released have not been like that brilliant. Redfall, kind of fine. Hi-Fi Rush, fine. Fallout 76, shithouse. Fallout 4, fine. Really, the problem with Fallout 4, it was made in such heavy isolation that they failed to look out and see what how far every other game has developed. So they came out and they were behind The Witcher, which came out years beforehand. From an RPG production standpoint.
Yeah.
So Microsoft, it does make me worried for Starfield, because I want to play fucking Starfield. I want to play it on this PC. It's be mint. But I do worry that, what does that mean, right? And then we look over at the studios that they do have, and then we've seen, Halo, or was it Halo 6, Halo Infinite, fucking rough game, and then for as long as I can probably think back to the likes of Recore, right? There's been no, even before that, right? I think Halo 5 Guardians, whatever it was, even before that wasn't very good. When was the last time that Xbox had a first party owned and developed? I'm excluding the likes of Psychonauts or even Pentiment, I guess, because a lot of them seem to be in development prior to the acquisition of the studios. When has the entire in-house game been a success?
Not OG Fable.
OG Fable.
or literally any Forza title.
No, incorrect. Forza, because the Playground games was only purchased in the last 2 years. So technically, yes, the last Forza was pretty fucking sweet, as the one was before that. But once again, not something entirely grown in house.
What was Fable?
Fable was not. No, Lionhead was. I don't believe were a first party studio at the time. They were then purchased and closed down. Yeah. Same as Maxis, I believe. No, Maxis was EA. My apologies, that one's incorrect.
Yeah.
Because Lionhead did Black and White, and I loved Black and White. That's my greater concern. The deal itself is that the FTC fucked up, but once again, they are a government department, right? So the reason that they are appealing it is because if the government thought it was bad enough that they had to contest this, they're not just going to go, yeah, it's fine. All right, good luck, and wander off. That's not how it should work.
To be fair, this is also the same government who can't rate video games correctly, still doesn't know what they're actually about, has struggles to understand what a fucking loot box is,
No, but the point I'm making is, it's kind of like if a government, whatever reason, they believe something is so important and so intense, and they just and they go, It's it'd be kind of the idea of hey, we're going to implement this one thing, whether it be outside of video games, right? And the government goes, this is really important, and they go, well, it's not going to happen. They go, yeah, that's fine. That's not how it should work. If it's they should push back. They should try again, because that's what they were there. That's what they should be doing. In the same way that if the FTC won, I guarantee you Microsoft would try to appeal it.
Yeah, of course.
So them sitting here going, why are they appealing it? They would have done it, because that's how the system works.
I think the argument of why they're appealing it is because they've lost so fucking tremendously, and there's no way that they're going to argue their way out of it.
I believe you and I understand you, but it's losing. It's either you lost or you won. There's no metric on losing and winning. There's no graded system. It's binary. It's yes or no. So
I disagree. Even in sports, you can lose very, very badly. Losing by 1 point, losing by 100.
The difference there is there's a scoring. There was no scoring. It's you lost.
Oh yeah, but if you
it's subjective on how much they lost.
True, but if you have no basis for an argument, re-arguing the same argument is also not going to change the outcome.
Up. Yeah, and I'd say that's subjective, but it's also not, because we know they lost. But
and like I said, the leader, the higher up of the FTC, whatever her name is, I can't think of it at the moment.
Let's call her Sheila.
she's already under fire for wasting taxpayer dollars for losing her last 4 court cases for going after companies merging.
Yeah.
She's shown a pattern of going after certain things and failing miserably. So, like, she's also, you know, yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and look, I'm happy it's done. Did it go the way what I would prefer? Not particularly, but this is the world we live in. Things, you know, things will change. Things will alter. This is a moment, like this is a fundamental moment in not just gaming, but in business. There's been very few acquisitions, especially within tech, of this amount, this magnitude. Like this is a moment in the future. So keep that in mind.
I think one of the former cases she tried was when Meta acquired whatever that company was.
WhatsApp.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Quick biddies. An official Assassin's Creed Mirage haptic feedback suit from manufacturer Owo promises to bring you closer than ever before to the game, and is compatible with PlayStation 5. Right. So if you want to get fucking shanked while you're playing,
if you want to feel like, if you want to feel close to what it's to be like in historical Baghdad, which I imagine is not fucking fun.
If you want to do a leap of faith and just feel your back break, buy this suit.
Yeah, look, admittedly, I don't want to, you know, this is going to sound racist, but not the intentional. I don't want to experience fucking modern day Baghdad. So, like, historical Baghdad seems also pretty rough. I don't want to go in some wetsuit that makes me fucking feel like I'm there. No, thank you.
PlayStation Pasta now exists.
And I want it! So I spotted this on Twitter, and it's like, yeah, it's called Play With Your Food. Like, it's this really cool idea. So it's essentially pasta in the sacred symbols. You triangles, you circles,
I'd argue it's not a really cool idea. It's the fucking dumbest thing.
I want it so fucking bad. I'm going to import it. Anyone in the UK that happens to listen to this show, I will give you money. I'll give you dollary dues that translates to your euro dollars, whatever the fuck it is, and gimme.
Naughty Dog co-president Evan Wiles has retired.
Yeah, and like it seems, you know, in a world of like people just getting kind of almost fired a little bit from around PlayStation, whether it be the loss of Pixel Opus, you know, the guy that just like kind of possibly got fired from Savage, the company that he helped create. You know, it looks as if that Evan Wiles went on his own accord, which leaves Neil Druckmann as the head of Naughty Dog all by his lonesome. Pretty intense.
He's The Last of Us.
Ha!
Speaking of Last of Us,
because that's fun. That's good.
As I mentioned earlier, Last of Us HBO has been nominated for 24 separate Emmys.
Yeah, so it's second to Succession, which I think got 27. That's massive. A lot of them like drama, characters. Obviously, best leading actor, best leading actress, music. Title sequence even, which was a dope one. Which Secret Invasion's not gonna win. Not that it got nominated because it's fucking garbage. But how do you think it will go, Max? I think I think it won't clean up. Like I don't think it'll get best drama or anything.
Succession was really good, dude.
I haven't watched it. I haven't checked it
out. So yeah, it'll do well. It'll do well. But yeah, just to be nominated, I guess is
yeah. Once again, no other, very few, if any other, gaming focused. Oh, did The Witcher get noms?
Don't know.
True. But yeah, as Mute points out in the chat, it could be the first video game adaptation to win an award.
And then lastly, the Black Panther game that was rumored has been revealed, coming from the new EA team, Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. It's the Australian version. Yeah, cool. I don't particularly need a Black Panther game, but sure, I'll check it out. Speaking of games you want to check out, though, here are the games that are coming out this week. Section we call Games Coming This Week. You got Viewfinder on PS5 coming July 18th. And New Banaga's Ambition Awakening PS4 July 20th. And Remnant 2 coming to PS5 July 25th. That's the sequel to Remnant from the Ashes.
Yep, super keen.
I know you had a boner for.
Super duper keen.
Yeah. No, nothing for me. Nothing for old Betson at all there. Beautiful. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us for the show. You know, as we said, it's going to be a light show this week. It's only a couple. We managed to get an hour out of it, so yeah, that's right. We could just do a smaller show, but no, I can't seem to shut
No,
the
even
fuck up.
even last week we had like half a page of news doc and that was it. And
So that's what you get for one of your hosts being an opinionated, neurodiverse individual who just can't shut the fuck up. Speaking of shutting the fuck up, I'm gonna do that so you can close this up.
All right, everyone. This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/PopCulturists. We can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation Pod. If you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavour to answer every single comment. And if you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/PopCulturists, as well as our merchandise store, PopCulturists shop, where you can buy shirts, other assorted shit with our logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players. It's FTP, not your FTCs.
Man, I got a busy weekend next weekend.
Oh, no, what do you got planned?
2 shows.
2 shows? Oh, you do news reviews as well, yeah?
On news reviews as well.
Nice. Well, there you go. I've got a wrestling show on the Friday, so 2 shows, but not the same. So I'll see you guys next week.